Hey guys, it is Cass and I'm back doing a review of Doctor Who. This time it is part 2 of the series finale, which is called Death in Heaven. If you saw my review for last week, part 1, Dark Water, you will know that I wasn't a great fan of it, but I warn you right now that I happen to love this episode. So, there you go. Now, before we get started, I should say that I cut my hair. It used to be down to my waist, and recently I've been cutting it. Now it's like this, and it's like the shortest I've had it in a really long time. And I personally love it. And I'm also wearing Clara's sweater and an eagle necklace. So, alright, let's get started. First, I want to talk about the cinematography. There were some moments, specifically in the graveyard with Clara, that I was like, this is so beautiful. And I just felt the whole vibe was really awesome. Dark, but it wasn't bad. It was really well done, and I loved it so much. Yeah, so shot very beautifully, well acted. Capaldi does not ever fail to be awesome. I don't know if he's capable of not being great. Same with Jenna Coleman. That was just great performances. Everybody was really amazing. Missy, of course. Michelle Gomez, really good. Loved it. So from that standpoint, really well done. Oh, and of course Samuel Anderson. I'm so sorry, Samuel Anderson. That was awful. My number one moment would be when the doctor was talking to Kate and she's like, and he's like, where's Clara? And she's like, oh, you mean your assistant Clara Oswald? And he's like, no, my friend. And I'm like, oh, it was so lovely. It was so nice. I loved that. They called each other friends the whole episode. And, you know, I mean, we don't get a lot of that, like, oh yeah, you're my best friend. And she's like, he's my best friend. As heartbreaking as that speech was with Danny. And I was like, oh, girl, you're killing that poor man. So yeah, that was a great moment. Number 2 moment would be Missy killing Osgood, unfortunately, because she's like, I'm bananas. She says it like twice, and it reminded me of when 12 said something would be bananas. I don't remember what episode that was. I think that was Caretaker or something. I can't remember, but he said it, and I was like, oh. Okay, number 3, I guess it goes hand in hand. Hey, Missy, you're so fine. You're so fine. You're blowing my mind. Hey, Missy. Yeah, I love that. That was great. So I guess you can combine those. I guess they're together, number 2. Number 3 would be when Danny took off the Cyberman mask. And this is not a good one. This was like, I don't really cry a lot for these things. I get emotional and like my throat gets tight, but I'm not really big into like crying unless something's like hitting me at a particular moment when I'm like in my real life sort of susceptible. So I did sort of cry. I got watery and eventually I did like, I did actually cry. I will point that out. And it's hard to make me cry. Yeah, it's easy to make me sad, but actual tears hard to do. So that was just terrible. That like whole thing. And I guess you could combine that with her hugging him the whole time. I mean, God, that whole graveyard thing and Danny and like keeping the promise and that line, all those things are so, oh my God, it gives me hope for Doctor Who. Things like that, because I tend to be very hard on Moffat, and I just think things like that in The Name of the Doctor are when he really just like, something must have been going on, like he pulled it out and it was just so good. And I'm so happy with it. Number 4 would obviously be the Brigadier. Yeah, salute. Yeah. Number 5, in a very negative way, would be him when we see 12 in that scene with Gallifrey, and you completely sympathize with the Doctor, because you can imagine that's like, if he had a dream, that would be his dream. Find Gallifrey. Yeah, and we haven't talked about it that much, and then we truly see how badly he wanted it and how terrible that is. I was so heartbroken by that scene when he goes to look for Gallifrey at the coordinates Missy gave him. And of course it's not there. And you feel terrible because you can imagine if you've ever had a dream crushed or an expectation not met, and that is a big one, like finding your home. And I really hope that next series we explore that, and I hope that everything moves in that direction. So I'm excited for that. So this has been a short review. I just thought it was so... God, it was sad, but Dark Water was sad in a very different way. Dark Water, we dealt with betrayal, we dealt with a lot, and we really only got a little bit of answers at the end. So, yeah. As far as closing things up, yeah, I guess people were wrong. She was a woman in the shop. It's the only thing that made sense. Am I glad that Danny wasn't the master or wasn't malicious? Yeah, it does make me feel like a terrible human being for being suspicious of him, because he was and is in every way very much the opposite of the Doctor. His character was great, and I wish now I could go back and be like, okay, yeah, he really is an awesome guy. I can totally see why Clara would feel like you're the last man I'll ever love. And I don't know how the heck that's gonna happen. I am glad that he died, and I know that sounds terrible, but listen, we have to have consequences for things. They're just, people come back, and maybe he will come back, but I would be okay with that, actually. If he came back in the Christmas special, I would be okay with that, and I'll tell you why. It's because at least we would have some time to have that sink in, and I think, what's good. I think it's hard to explain why I feel this way. Maybe you can kind of understand. I can't really explain it, but I feel like it's a good thing. I don't know. As far as what we're going to see in the Christmas special, I do definitely think that Clara is pregnant. Or, I don't know. I really don't. I think that would be the only thing that makes sense for this situation. I didn't want her to be, but it's okay. I'm kind of ready for her to leave, and that's terrible. I love her so much, and I know that I was very hard on her in the other videos, but I had a lot of time to reflect, and her whole span of the show, Clara's, I've really kind of been a little hard on her since things, and I think that was partly because I just sympathized with the doctor, and I felt like she was really losing touch of herself, and I think she gained it. Yeah, I kind of didn't want to see her kill the mouse with though. I know that's terrible, but I did. But she's badass, and I felt a little guilty for being hard on her. But now that I've kind of thought about it and reflected, and I watched Dark Water like 5 times, y'all. This is off topic. I just said y'all. I don't know why I did that. I've lived in the South my whole life. I'm sorry. But it's off topic. But and so I like her. And yeah, so now I'm starting to think about and hoping that we hear something about a new companion. Because like I said, don't really want to see her go, but I don't know what they could do with her at this point, especially if she was pregnant. And no, I don't think that just because you're pregnant, you can't travel through time and space. I think she very much could, but maybe the doctor wouldn't want it. And it's funny, I was watching Sherlock, it was on right before. It was the first episode of the series. And remember, Clara was Harriet's wife, yeah? And that Harriet left Clara, and I was like, oh yeah, well, duh, the doctor is gonna leave her. And I thought what he did was very poetic. I don't know why I mentioned Sherlock. I just thought that was like, anyway, I always forget that was Harriet's wife's name. Anyway, so yeah, I think that was so nice of him, and I think they both just really care about each other, and I think everybody wants a relationship like that. It was beautiful. I'm very, very touched by it, and emotional. So this episode really redeemed my lack of love for part 1. I'm very excited for next series. I am, and I'm excited for Christmas. I hope it'll be fun. I miss the light who, but I know we're dealing with some dark stuff, and that's fine, and but I really hope we get some more fun stuff next series. Fun, like, just adventure-y kind of episodes, because those are always the best. We did have some of those, like you guys know, I loved Time Heist. Well, I didn't get to actually review Time Heist, but I loved it, and I really liked The Caretaker. I know a lot of people did not, but I did. I'm sorry, I loved it, and it was very emotional, but still, I thought there was something funny going on there, and yeah, so I liked that. And yeah, I loved Into the Dialect, and so I'm gonna try to make some videos when we have some Who news. So yeah, I will not be MIA through that. Who knows? Yeah, I had a really weird week, so I'm sorry I didn't post any videos. I don't know. I'm gonna try now. I don't feel like this was a great critical review. Oh, should I talk about something I don't like? Oh, I didn't like the idea of the Cybermen and the cloud. Like, I thought conceptually it was really cool. It was cool to see visually. But as far as the planning and how that worked, it was just very weird. I guess you do have to kind of like turn off a section of your brain with any kind of fantasy where you're like, yeah, so that didn't make any sense whatsoever. But I don't care. I really didn't care if it didn't make any sense. Yeah, and Missy was just thrillingly scary. Like, I was a little scared of her. And I didn't even talk about the fact of what she was doing with the army, which a lot of people had speculated that she kind of thought she was good in doing that. But yeah, obviously still insane, which is, she realizes it, so that's good. And the doctor was calling her she, and I always think that's good too, because he now or she now is associating as a woman, that's proper. So that made me happy. But I still hate the thing about you can't call them masters because it's a woman, that now you have to call yourself the mistress. Like, I want to be the master. Let's be clear here. If I'm a Time Lord and I change genders and I'm going from male to female, I'm still a master. Don't you dare take that away from me. I'll kick your ass if you take that away. There's nothing wrong with mistress, but every time I think of it, you know, mistress of the house. I don't want to be the mistress. I'm sorry. I want to be the master. I've read a lot of like Victorian, like Pride and Prejudice, Regency stuff. I want to be the master. Okay? Do you remember Les Mis, Master of the House? You know, I love that song. I won't go into that. I'm sorry that I just went off. But whatever. Point is, love the episode. Can't really criticize it. I think it's some of the best writing we've had. Oh God. The Name of the Doctor probably wasn't even as good, and I loved that episode. So yeah, thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you want to see more, because I will try to do more, especially when we have news. My thoughts on some of those, probably not as long. I'm happy this isn't as long, because I've done some really long ones. I loved it. Bye. Hey, Missy, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Hey, Missy. Yeah, hey, Missy. Yep, I did that. I did that.